Hi. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Authentic Action Podcast with me. I'm ZGALA, the Art Angel, also known as ZGALA Anti-Angel. Confuse myself for a little bit, also known as Confused sometimes, and that's all good. This is a special edition of the Authentic Action Podcast. So, not that it's not always fine that it's imperfect, but it's just as fine as it ever was, that it is just as imperfect as it ever was. And today's podcast is brought to you by Sleeping Dragons Company and the Authentic Action Academy, as well as yours truly, ZGALA the Art Angel. So be sure to check out our sponsors and you can find some links to things and stuff down in the description. Probably. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, whatever is appropriate for wherever you are hearing this. Speaking of hearing this may or may not sound better than our previous episode. I'm hoping it doesn't sound too much worse, but I am prepared that it might not sound as good because I was using the iPhone for the last couple episodes, which of course is not ideal either. But right now I'm using a webcam, and perhaps I'm close enough. We're going to find out. But here's the deal. I made a deal with myself to put out a podcast episode once a week after like more than a 2-year break. And I got 2 weeks in, and then all sorts of hell broke loose in my life, so to speak. I'm exaggerating mostly. Um, so I decided to make a little episode about it and also push myself another time. It's not like I haven't been pushing all this week, but it's like, well, if I believed in the gods or the fates or the muses, then I would be really questioning what are they trying to tell me? Because, well, let me first tell you what this episode is going to be about, or is about. It's going to be about uh, turning positives, turning negatives into positives. We could talk about turning positives into negatives too, because that's a thing that many of us do. I have certainly done plenty of both, and that's really the point that I want to try to get across in this podcast is that we really always have that choice between looking at the positive in any given situation, or even if sometimes it's a stretch, finding that silver lining, as they say. Pardon me. Or conversely, we have the option to find the negative, find the fly in the pie. I don't even know if that's a saying, but that's what came to me. For looking for what's wrong with any given situation, for finding the fly in the ointment. I think that's the saying, but of course, you want to find the fly in the ointment, right? So that's not a good saying for this occasion. Anyway, um, we're all familiar, I think, or maybe you're familiar with the parable about the farmer who lost his horse, and the townspeople said, "Oh, what bad luck." And then his son went out and found the horse, and the townspeople all said, "Oh, what good luck." And then his son broke his leg when he was on his way back from the journey finding the horse, and the townspeople all said, "Oh, what bad luck." And then and oh, I forgot the part where the farmer says, "Maybe we'll see." Basically, I'm gonna keep working on my storytelling skills. It's funny that I do consider myself a storyteller, um, and I also have so much room for improvement. It's kind of exciting, isn't it? So, um, the son is not drafted because of his broken leg, and all the townspeople say, "Oh, what a what a stroke of good luck." And the farmer says, "Yeah, maybe we'll see." And then the son develops a terrible drinking habit, and the townspeople all say, "Oh, what bad luck." And the farmer says, "Oh yeah, maybe we'll see." And then the son stumbles into an arroyo one night all drunk and discovers a big vein of gold and becomes super rich and is able to care for his parents as they age super well. And the townspeople all say, "Oh, what good luck." And the old man says, yeah, maybe we'll see." Anyway, there's the parable, and you get the gist of it. And the point, if not already obvious, is that whether or not something is good luck or bad luck is all in the perspective, right? In the place in the story we come into it. And back to my original point, we always have that choice of looking for the good or looking for the bad. And at least lately, and I hope that more often than not throughout my life, that one of the uh, is it a mantra? I don't know. One of the kind of guidelines that I live by is to act as if something is true. It's sort of parallel to faith, and I'm not quite ready to call it faith, but it is about um, acting as if the universe is conspiring on my behalf and acting as if I can succeed even when I'm not entirely sure, or acting as if I do love myself enough to make good decisions, even when I don't always do that all the time. When I act as if I do, if I catch myself wanting to basically, the opposite can be true and has been, where I could be acting as if the universe is conspiring against me and acting as if nothing in my life is good and acting as if everybody hates me and nobody loves me. And I can attest that that feels terrible. And it generally does lead to more negative outcomes in your life. But whether it does or doesn't, it just leads to a bad, overall feeling. Whereas acting as if the universe is conspiring on your behalf, acting as if things are working out, everything is going your way and things are working out okay, that feels good. It feels much better than the alternative. So this is why it is a strategy that I employ frequently. So to relate it to that parable, um, even if at any point during that story, in any situation, we often are tempted to look at a situation and go, "Oh no, that's terrible." Or yeah, that's really good. We should celebrate. But I think that parable demonstrates that it's best to keep even keel, at least on some level, maybe just in our archetypal selves. Maybe it is important to lament and wail and grieve, and also important to celebrate and, um, yeah, rejoice is the word I'm looking for. Pardon me again. I'm not against, living fully alive. In fact, I'm a big advocate of that. So, um, to each our own, right? Whatever suits us. But I am saying, even if you're one of those people, as I often am, who wants to, celebrate exuberantly and allow yourself to grieve and feel your emotions fully, it's important to keep that space, a little bit of that stoic space around all of that, and know that ultimately, on the big picture, things are not really good or bad. They just are what they are. And it's the stories that we choose to tell ourselves about them from any given point in time, any given perspective. And sometimes it's harder than others, other times to tell a positive or a negative story. And this is where the skill comes in, I would say. I'm posing that this is a skill that we can learn, that we can cultivate, that we can get better. And the reason I'm posing that that is true is because I feel like I have really done that. Now, part of me wants to argue with myself and say, actually, I was quite good at it when I was even probably an infant and definitely a young child. So perhaps it's a skill that our spirit, soul self is, uh, I was going to say enamored with, and that's not the right word. Embodied with, imbibed with, given. And then maybe we override that when we're brainwashed by the overculture and all its expectations to make ourselves into what we are not in general. I can look back when I reflect, I can look back and have like a memory when I was 3 or 4 years old, of feeling like there was this imposition of other people's stories upon my own story and wondering how I would be able to tell the difference as it was imposed on mine. And I find that an interesting memory. Um, anyway, back to the point at hand, which is it's taken me a while to get to, but the reason for this whole special edition podcast is that my PC unalived itself earlier in the week, as I've been saying. Talk about dysregulation, having a meltdown. Which is, so I've recorded two, count them, two different podcast episodes that technical difficulties have not allowed me to upload. And I've made them different. And this one is also different because I still hope to upload those. I don't know what I'll do with the number thing, and I'm not going to mention a number in this episode probably. So it doesn't really matter to anyone but me, the the am I a purveyor, the organizer of this whole shindig? At least I'm cracking myself up. So anyway, my PC had a big meltdown. Um, Became quite emotionally dysregulated, actually with no warning at all. It just got too hot for its own good and it quit working completely. It's refused to come back, has shown no signs of life. And after some just walking away and cooling myself down, and doing a patting myself on the back here, doing a pretty good job of not letting it upset me, taking it in stride, even though I've done a fair amount of editing recently on my upcoming book, The Shift, and I didn't save and back up the last couple rounds of editing the way I often do. And I don't know if you ever worked on anything big like that, but it's like I already know that's just asking for, a meltdown. And so I don't know what that is. I'm writing, part of my book is about self-sabotage. Clearly there's some of that going on. But in any case, thankfully, I've now evaluated a little more. I haven't yet taken apart my old computer, seeing if I can take out the old hard drive. And there's a good chance I'll actually be able to retrieve all of it. So that's why I'm not quite gung-ho doing the other. But I did do a little reconning, and it's only about 3 weeks back since the last time I saved everything in another venue that I can access. So that's the worst case scenario. It's not that bad. But even before I discovered that, and I was thinking, worst case scenario, perhaps I've lost months of work. Um, I was really okay. Think about beginning again. I've had to do it so many times. There's a certain freedom in it when you're reiterating something, and especially when it's a creative process, and especially the writing process, and especially a book, which has so many iterations of editing and Yeah, just life in general, I think, has definitely has an aspect of that. So anyhow, I was okay with it. I'm glad that it's only about 3 weeks and perhaps none. As I mentioned, I'm gonna get around. I'm probably gonna just the irony of it, which my life is full of, and I do like to say I like irony, so life, I can't really complain much when life hands me a lot of it. But there is a fantastic irony of life factor here, as I call it, the IOL factor, where I had just joined an extra accountability group to help push me through to finish this because I'm about, I don't know, 2 years behind schedule. A long, it's taken me for a long time. And and I had just written down in this group how I was gonna do all this work on this book and on the podcast, and then now all these things dropped out. But here I am doing another version of the episode because, well, I won't bore you with all the fine details, but suffice it to say, after my computer meltdown, then I came back to the computer I'm using now, which is my trusty old one, which I'm no longer calling my POS because it's been saving my BUTT lately. In any case, my older computer, which does not have all my newer episodes and passwords and important things. And clearly, one of the big lessons of all this is that I need a better system for managing my passwords. Hey, anybody else relate to that? It's got to be a better way. And so this has definitely inspired me to find a better way for myself. I have some ideas. I do some of that, so thankfully I'll be able to, track them down, but I need a better system. Lots of things need better systems, and that brings me all the way around to the main point I was trying to get at the beginning of this, which is that I am using all of this, what could be seen as negative, for positive instead, and I am using it as a catalyst, this disruption in my flow to find new flow. And this is long overdue. I've been talking about doing it. And while the computer is down and the weather is perfect, I've also used some of this time to disrupt the stagnation in my house and do some physical removal of things that are long overdue, that are now in my driveway. And if I don't manage to sell them, then I will have the city pick them up. So I have a plan. Some action has happened that is all very, very positive, even if it's not the action that I said in the accountability group that I was going to do. Here's the thing that you often learn when you start to take action is things don't go according to plan. And this is something that I say all the time, and here I am demonstrating it. So even though things didn't go according to plan in my accountability group, um, I did get a lot done. A lot of action got taken on my behalf through me, by me. Perhaps through, I do feel like I'm going to act as if it's also happening in the universe at large. And I do feel that way. I feel like the stars are aligning, or, the muses are conspiring, the fates are on my side, however you want to phrase it or look at it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and continue to act as if that's true because I'm trying to look at something over here. And I'm like in my own way. Isn't that the way? Anyhow, I should look at my notes and not whatever I was trying to look at over there. Um, so back to the point I was making, which is that I could look at my computer melting down as a negative, but not only am I inspired by that parable, the parable of the farmer, I think it's most often called, but also my mother comes to mind in this whole thing because my mother, who, bless her heart, as they say, has been really struggling with her health in new ways this year. And that has, of course, brought up new struggles for the whole family, as aging parents do, and just aging in general does, and health issues do. And through all that, she has managed to keep a really positive frame of mind. She's starting to have issues with her memory, and she'll say things like, "Oh, I just feel grateful that I don't have to worry about that if I don't remember it." And that's in line with an attitude she's long had, which is in line with not just the parable of the farmer, but a step further, sometimes even called Pollyanna. But I'm going to go ahead and say it's served her very well in this life. And a concrete example of what I'm getting at is that she had her electric bike stolen, not just once, but twice this year while she was dealing with, once before her health issues started and once after her health issues had started. And so she has an electric bike. She's had it a few years. She rides it to the pool. She's 77 this year. Very proud of her for that. She goes to like this yoga class in the water at the pool a couple times a week. And one day somebody stole that bike out of her yard. And when they did that, they had been in her shed and gathered up a bunch of her tools from her shed and then left all them there. And it looked like, or at least the story that she's told about what, the conclusion that she came to was that they were stealing stuff out of the shed, but then they were coming out of the shed and they saw her bike. So they ditched all the stuff they were stealing from the shed and they took her bike instead and ran off with it because it was worth like $1,000, pretty, maybe not that much at the flea market or whatever whoever was stealing was reselling. Um, in any case, my mother quickly, like she was maybe bummed about it for a couple of hours, and then she quickly did what she often does in a situation like that and said, "Oh, I guess I get to shop for a new bike. That one was kind of, there were things about it that were bothering me anyway, so I'm grateful." I just noticed that I'm going out of focus. I'm not sure what's up with that. Let me see if I can get back in focus. So my mother, by the next day, had ordered herself a new bike, and it was one she liked better. And when she got that one, it turned out to be defective, and then she didn't like it better. She had that about a month, and then she sent it back. And then about a week or so after she got her very newer one that was quite pricey, she was at the grocery store and it was locked up and someone stole that one, like cut the cable and stole it. And she was a little upset but really not, like she did again a very excellent job, especially considering she was tired. She's been dealing with health issues. She had been on oxygen just a week or two before she was riding this new bike to the store. And then she had to go back in the store and ask if she could put her groceries in the cooler and walk home. And she barely made it, even though it wasn't that long, because again, she'd been dealing with these health issues, heart issues, and then oxygen issues. So anyway, I'm very proud of her and I'm very inspired by her. And I know that's a very long-winded story, but I think it's a nice story, so I wanted to share it because ultimately all of that is added up to me using this time this week and the fact that my computer had a little emotional dysregulation meltdown, as I'm going to call it, since that was the topic of the week earlier in the week. And I'm going to use that as a catalyst to get a newer computer, which has been on my mind. Last year, I got the one that I currently have is only a little over a year old, but I got it at a discount because I was on a very low budget coming out of a very hard time physically, financially, emotionally. And I'm very grateful to be doing better this year. Of course, I'm not perfect. I'm not doing 100%, like the greatest ever, but I am doing substantially better than I was last year. And that feels really good. So I'm able to appreciate that. I'm going to get a new system. And before I get that new system, I'm going to learn more about how to retrieve, see if I can recover anything out of the hard drive of that one. So I'm looking forward to that adventure because I love doing some DIY and learning some things. I'm learning more about the different updated recording options on Zoom and my newer webcam computer. I'm inspired to clean my office. Good God. Good golly, girl. Good Lord, Lordy, Lordy. Don't worry. I'm on it. I'm working on it. As I mentioned, I did a lot of stuff outside that you can't see from where you are, but you can trust me. Things are a moving and a shaking and feeling better and better around here. And I am super grateful for that. I have gotten rid of a very old entertainment center that, I mean, I'm talking it is old. It was old before I got it, and it has a lot of baggage attached to it. And um, in doing that, I'm making room for a new practice area for me and my musician friends, which is something I've been kicking around and around in my head for quite a while and just not doing for some reason. So to move forward, that feels really, really good. And of course, it won't be perfect, but I will figure it out. And getting rid of some other things that are just, they're even like a couple of the things that I even like, but they just have a lot of baggage attached. And I realize they're taking up a lot of emotional space in my psyche, in my mind, in my emotional capacity, in my bandwidth. And as I'm going through my own shifts and my own transitional processes and trying to up level my own life to whatever degree I can in all the ways that I can, I'm recognizing more and more that it is in letting go of both just physical things that are in the way that don't serve us anymore, but also even if they're physical things that do serve us, sometimes when they're physical things that have a lot of emotional baggage, like this mirror that was by my front door, then it's worth getting a new mirror for heaven's sake and letting go of that one. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm proud of myself, patting myself on the back again for taking that action. And it might sound like a small action, and indeed it is, but it's often those small actions that add up to big, big waves, as they say. So I hope that you are remembering to take those all important, small, big wave making actions in your own life. You know which ones they are, the ones that really, um, well, sometimes they're called keystone actions, right? They're little actions that can really unlock big points of stagnation or big points of energy, and big energy blocks in your life. And I encourage you to use my own unlocking of some of mine as inspiration to do some of that for yourself. I hope that you do. I think that's always a good time. It is always a good time to do that. I'm again trying to look at my notes and see what I missed. I always try to start and end with a joke, and I don't think I did any of that this time. I think it went right into my silly parable, my silly story about my PC melting down because I was so excited to tell you about that. I do want to again mention our sponsors here and thank you for listening to the Authentic Action Podcast. Our sponsors, Sleeping Dragons Company, which you can find on Etsy these days or by typing in www.sleepingdragons with an S co.com, and that should get you to the Etsy store where you can find a fantastic selection of all natural essential oils, hard to find herbs, heart-shaped stones, and lots more. So give it a check. Check it out. It's a good place to look for some handcrafted gifts and maybe some um, items that you might not find just anywhere as we come into the gift giving season. So I do hope you will check them out, and you should be able to find a link to that in the description. Um, Also, the Authentic Action Academy, the backbone sponsor of the Authentic Action podcast, which is still in the construction phase, and we'll be offering a couple of our first courses and signing up some of our first uh, foundational instructors, creating that foundation. Excited to build some more safe physical spaces to have some more classes in, and I will be hosting some pop-up classes this fall, hopefully in some of the exciting spaces that I have built personally as an artist, like the Head Hutt and the Eight Dragon Room, just to name a couple. For example, um, so again, you can find out more about those by checking out the description, looking for links, listening to the podcast in the future, checking out our other podcast or our other, yeah, episodes, hooking up with me, signing up for my email list, sending me an email and asking me a question. Those are all fantastic ways to get in touch, find out more, and I encourage you to do that. Meanwhile, I thank you for being you. I thank you for letting me be me. I hope you will remember to stay curious and courageous, get more playful, because life is much too important to take it too seriously. And until next time, I'll be seeing you. Ciao for now.